Today, let's talk about the bayonet. In the weapon history of humanity, although firearms was the main weapon in the military, the cold weapons still were not left out of the world. The black gunpowder made the pike into a gun, but in the early time, the guns usually were hard to reload and the accuracy, well, basically, on 100-yard range, hitting a target even was the best score for a normal smoothbore musket. In the battlefield of that era, it might be like within 50 meters using the cold weapon. Without 50 meters, soldiers used the musket to wall fire in order to close the enemies in 50 meters range and put the musket down and switch to their cold weapon to fight. Maybe that thing is exaggerated, but it means that in that old time, still couldn't get rid of its identify as a pike. For this situation, the bayonet gradually became a good partner for musket, even for the muzzle-loading rifle or bolt-action rifle, which didn't have a very quick fire rate. The same was true for the bayonet. It was born in a very early time. The earliest document for it might be the words in 兵录, which was a military book wrote in 1606 in Chinese Ming Dynasty. Beside the Chinese document, there are some accounts that place the invasion of the bayonet in either France or Germany as early as 1560. It was earlier than Chinese document, but it might be not the detail as 兵录. As a classical weapon fan, I also found this book. It is a PDF file version, but this wasn't a drawback at reading it. There was a kind of a branch loading matchlock gun. In Chinese language, it was called 子母冲, son and mother gun. The son refers to the cartridge with a kind of early shape, and the mother means barrel, which was likely a smaller version of the breech loading civil gun, which was called 佛朗机炮 in the Ming Dynasty, and then the bayonet that was drawn at the right side of 子母冲 in the book was a kind of a plug bayonet. Actually, this was a kind of very iconic bayonet for the musket, and it was a very coincidence that in the 17th century in Europe, there were many plug bayonets which had almost the same shape and totally same usage. I'm not a history expert, so I don't know why there was this surprising coincidence. Maybe it was a coincidence in history development, which during a close era, the similar bayonets were created. Just like the bow and arrow might independently be invented in many different places thousands of years ago. And also maybe China is the real birthplace of the bayonet, and finally was introduced in the world, or the Western bayonet was introduced into China. But I think that re-estimation may be the job of historians, and they may give us a better answer. In addition, it was mentioned that the plug bayonet was simply that it had too many problems, such as the firing problem. If a musketeer wanted to put the plug bayonet on, it would not be able to shoot the lead bow. After 1700s, the plug bayonet almost totally retired. The same situation might also appear in Asia, although the first detailed document of a plug bayonet was here. Not only China, but Japan. The plug bayonet might not be used with their musket in the same era. Maybe the real war told all the people in the world. Compared with the musket with a plug bayonet, the Pike soldiers as the helper of the musket soldiers. This was the right way. But actually in Russia, the plug bayonet might still be used until the 18th century partly. Then, when the next step of a bayonet was created, it might be the key to the musket development, and the key to make the Asian firearms might be in a disadvantageous position. And finally, the historical sense that we learned in history class appeared in Asia in the 19th century. This impressive and new generation bayonet, or be called the real practical bayonet, is a socket bayonet. Created in a very late part of the 17th century, it was a very smart device, because it used the reel on the muzzle to connect the bayonet and the gun. It successfully solved the firing problem. Finally, the infantry can put the bayonet on, and meanwhile he could reload and fire. Although bayonet lock helped the bayonet become a real practical gear of a musket, but just like the situation of a steam engine, Watt was not the first inventor, but his improved steam engine finally became the key that changed the world. The bayonet had a similar situation after the Peace of Ryswick. The English and the Germans abolished the pike and introduced the socket bayonet, but it didn't mean the socket bayonet was a perfect gear, because it had no lock to keep it fast to the muzzle, and was well documented for falling off in the heat of battle, just as Watt finally improved the steam engine. Until around 1770, the French infantry adopted a locking ring that prevented the bayonet from accidentally separating from the musket. Although in history there were many other improvements of how to lock bayonet on the muzzle, such as Timor-Test, I think the locking ring might be the most impressive among those bayonet gears, because it might be used most widely around the world of military. This moment also was the last step that the musket finally could become a pike, which also could shoot a lead bow. In other words, this was a weapon which had the function of pike and gun at the same time. Also, this point means that a musket soldier, and meanwhile, he was also a pike soldier. After that, although the smoothbore musket still had such bad accuracy, the military could have more musket soldiers to do larger scale volley fire to make up for the bad accuracy. Then, after shooting, they would put the socket bayonet on, and as pikemen rushed and defeated the enemies. The movement was also one of the keys to go beyond Asian firearms, not only firearms in East Asia, but also in West Asia. During the decades, the bayonet lock had a change. The shape of the bayonet was changing as well. According to some history material, around 1715, the socket bayonet gradually had a spike with a triangular cross section, rather than a flat blade with a flat side towards the muzzle and two fluted sides, outermost to a length of 15 inches, and it was stronger than the previous single or double-edged model. The traditional socket bayonet once experienced innumerable battles in our world, but until the black powder was gradually replaced by the better and more powerful smokeless powder, the rifled barrel started the standard barrel of an infantry long gun in the later half part of the 19th century. The long guns had a momentous improvement as they became a real accuracy weapon, and it could even hit targets that are difficult to see without a telescope. So finally, the gun also got rid of its identify as a pike. The soldiers not even use bayonets, just depending on shooting, they could win the battle. Although the old Japanese military in the 20th century still believed that the bayonet and the courage was the right way to win, such as the Type 100 submachine gun, which was built by Japan in World War II, and it was a kind of very special submachine gun because it could equip a bayonet. The end of World War II also was the end of belief for the bayonet and courage. Sometimes history is cruel, since the bayonet growing up an impressive character in the battlefield, and the best partner of muskets and rifle from the 1700s to the 20th century. After the full automatic rifles was popular in the world, the bayonet gradually was mixed with saber and sword. So finally the sword bayonet replaced the position of a traditional socket bayonet after around the 1860s. This time also was the start of a big change for guns, from muzzleloader to breechloader, from breechloader to bolt action, finally into the automatic firearms era. With the guns changing, the bayonet gradually turned into the multi-purpose bayonet. it becomes shorter and shorter, although now still not totally retired. Its position in military may not be like its ancestors hundreds of years ago, or we can say in the new time. The bayonets gets a new identity on the ship, continually surviving in the military. Okay, this is this video. Hope you can like this video. Have a good day. See you next time. Bye.